Okay, so where we're at now is I need to work on the fast idle of the car. I'm not super happy with the choking, so I believe it's down to the fast idle. So we're going to go through the process of setting the fast idle. I've seen a couple of different schools of thought on how to do it. Per the manual, the easiest way to do it is to completely shut off the fast idle cam and then set it to where if the and maybe it's just better if I show you what I plan on doing instead of trying to explain it all here. So let's get set up to do that. So here's your fast idle cam. As you might be able to tell, it is opening up the top of the carburetor here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, so it's opening up the top part of the camera, or the top part of the carburetor and the idle. So really you're supposed to take it like a rubber band and hold that up there. I'm going to try to unload the fast idle screw. The fast idle screw is down here. It is really low. It may not be possible for you to see, I don't know, but it's right down there. Probably gonna have to take my word for it that it's there. But there's a screw down there, and I'm gonna try to unload it. Basically back it off so that it's not catching. All right, well, I'm gonna try to keep you there so you can see what's going in. So you got a mirror down here to try to see what's going on. Keeping the light exactly where you need it is always an issue. So I'll try the best I can with the lighting. Okay. Pull the throttle up a little bit. And I'm trying to unload this. All right, so that's unloaded. Hopefully you can see down there that that screw facing straight down is not pushing on that cam follower at all. All right, now we're supposed to adjust this so that we just contact the cam follower. So let's push this in. Okay, so I can see way at the top there, that looks like this mirror won't stay exactly positioned where I need it to. Let's turn on the light on the mirror, it might help too. We want that so it just, that arm just touches there. Yeah, I guess that arm, it would be better if it's all the way back. So hold that there and then turn this until that arm and I don't know if we can see what's happening there. Okay, I'm pushing that arm, turning it in. Okay, so what's happening there is now that's staying up this cam. As you can see, maybe you can see it is making contact. So I'm going to back it off. Okay, there is backing it off, and you might have saw it drop. Now, if I push it forward so it's catching, And then I just tighten this up just enough to hold it, which is right there. Okay, so it might be a little hard to determine through this screen, but what's happening, if you look way back in there, you'll see the silver arm. This is just barely making contact with the fast idle cam. So there's enough tension there now to hold this up. Before, the fast idle cam would not stay up. Now it's just making contact enough to hold it there. So once it's there, they say go 3 more rotations. So let's count 3. There's half, 1, half, that's 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. So that's 3 rotations now on that, and now there's a solid. So if that goes up there, you're going to feel it on that first cam thing there. It is grabbing tight. Okay, so that is holding that. If I do it, okay, so if I pull back the throttle and let it fall all the way, now the choke isn't on. And if I go ahead, now the choke is pretty much all the way up. So now I just want to make sure that my spring is catching over here. So I'm going to loosen this up just enough to allow me to turn this. And there's some adjustments here. I want to see how much spring tension I have. I didn't adjust it. Oh, that one feels loose. That one feels loose. Okay, that one wasn't loose enough, I guess. Now I want to see how much tension I have. I need a little thicker screwdriver. So no choke. See how much tension I can get. I'm going to say about right there, because there's no marks on this thing. I'm going to say, as a reference, straight up and down. So this mark is straight up and down. Let's go ahead and tighten it up and see how this works for a fast idle. See how the choke works. It seems like it grabs everything, keeping this cam pretty much up. It's keeping that cam pretty much up. Not as far as it could go. It's not extremely cold out here, but it's far enough, I guess. Let's try it again. Okay. So all the way down, choke's off. Now it's on. If you can see that cam down there, I don't know if you can. Let's look. The teeth. Whoops. Boy, is it hard to film, and it's hard to see. But if you look over here, you'll see the cam is caught on the hose. There's a cam down there, and you'll see that silver part catching on that cam. So you see the cam way back here, and you see the different teeth, hopefully, that are on there. And this holds all the pressure, so it's sitting on the top one right now. This is all the way up. It's caught on that one, and then there's 2 other steps. You might be able to see them in there, depending on how I get the light. So it's on the top step right now. Let's see how this works. All right, let me get set up for that. All right, let's start it up and see how it goes. Well, that was pretty good. It settled down. You know, I took it down to about 2,300 RPM on the fast idle. So on the highest setting on the fast idle, it was about 2,300. After I revved it there a few times, it knocked it down to somewhere under 1,000, maybe around 800-900. It's hard to tell on the factory tack in there exactly how, and you don't want to overly rely on it. You're just getting some basic information about how it's running. So, oh, I just noticed that I wasn't running. Well, that's okay. This was, whoops, this was another piece that I was experimenting with. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I had been looking at the working on the vacuum secondaries, and I was able to tell when I put this, unplugged this dash pot in the front and ran it, I was able to open the vacuum secondaries. But now I'm putting that back on there, and I will debug any further if I'm having trouble with those vacuum secondaries. I wanted to show you how to set the fast idle, and that 3-turn in the beginning when I first hit that fast idle thing there really took it up to like over 3,000 for the idle speed, which was a little too high. That was a perfectly cold engine, so I cut it down to, like I said, around 2,300. So I mean, these are all ballpark things to get you in the neighborhood of where you should be set up. Well guys, that concludes another video. Hopefully you've learned something from these videos. this project here was one that, you know, I started a while ago when I changed over to a 4-barrel carburetor from a 2-barrel. I also rebuilt the, got a carburetor off of YouTube, rebuilt it, had missing parts, had to order them, had to put this thing back together the best way I knew how to do it. And I think that that all worked out. But during the process, I ended up with a lot of new parts that had never been tested before, including those dash pots on the front, the choke brake on the front of the carburetor, which controls the vacuum secondaries, which I was having problems with. But I was also having some issues with the choke. You may have noticed on this intake manifold, and I'll show you here in a second, I believe this intake manifold is off of a 330. So an earlier version of the small block Olds engine. So before the 350, 68's first year, the Oldsmobile 350, which this car has. Prior to that, it was a 330, and with the 330 had a divorced choke, meaning the choke mechanism wasn't part of the carburetor. And this one is set up, this manifold set up for a divorced choke, but this carburetor is a hot air choke, and it runs not with the divorced setup, which I can go over here and show you a little bit here at the end. And so there was some, you know, going back and forth between the two different styles of carburetors, how to make that work, and not even having all of the parts for that, because I couldn't do the closed air all the way, the closed air choke, because this is the wrong manifold, so the tubing is too long to fit in there. I could have tried to do something up, but this carb actually came with a cut off choke, so I went off with that. And it doesn't look like it's giving me too much problems, other than maybe it's a small source of a vacuum leak, but the car runs okay in the current setup, so I'm not too worried about that. I also went over the fast idle setting on this, and you know, some tune-up things starting way back with the points. And you know, the points is never my favorite job, because these 68 hoods, they don't raise up very far, and I know of a trick to get them to raise farther on these current hinges. I don't know if I'm ready to do that. I mean, it's a pain, but yes, I don't really feel like taking this hood off again necessarily, and then have to go through the hood realignment procedure again. So I did cover that with this hood though. So yeah, so let's review the choke pieces here. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. There is the spot on the manifold that would hold the divorce choke, which is basically the spring that's rolled up, and it would have been on a rod, and the rod would have gone up and down and manually worked the choke here. This doesn't have that style of choke on it, therefore the hot air tube coming out of there can't go the complete path that it would be if this was the right manifold with it. So I mean, that's a problem, but it doesn't seem to be a big issue for me. And then of course I had to rebuild, you know, all the parts in here. Had to put on the new cover, which holds the wound up spring now for this particular carburetor. And here is the choke pull off, which I talked about, and we went through the drilling procedure to drill out the thing so I could get more and better vacuum. Like I said, the secondaries are working if you have this so that it's off. You should now, on mine, I'm a little nervous because I should probably put a little more spring tension on there, because it's not closing back all the way. Well, there it goes. I mean, if you hit it just right, it'll come back. So it could probably stand a little more spring pressure on there, which is just an adjustment underneath here, and you could fix that. So there's a lot of little things that you can do on these carburetors to finally adjust them. The big thing for me was obviously getting the car when it's ice cold, and believe me, when it choked that time and started up, that was the best that it's run on choke since I've had it. So that little exercise that I did right there is what you need to do if you're having some serious choke issues. So there really is a number of items that you could work on with these carburetors, and as I run across them, and I don't think that they're things that have been well covered by other people on YouTube, then I will definitely add my 2 cents into here. Adjusting this fast idle was one of the items that I didn't see good coverage on, so I wanted to do this video. Hopefully you could see it. I mean, it is difficult to see even when you got a mirror and everything else under there. I mean, if the carb's off and you're trying to explain, that's one thing, but when the carb's on the car, it really limits what you can see. Hopefully it'll come out all right. You'll be able to see exactly what I showed there. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It really does help the channel and lets YouTube know how well of a job I'm doing. And so until the next video, ciao.